Why are there so many drivers in the Infinity IRS 5? I don't know, why not? This question comes from Marius in Romania. And Marius writes, I was wondering, what's the reason for the exact number of audio elements in your IRS Infinity system, which looks good, and I can only imagine it sounds great. Indeed it does. I understand in this case, more is better, but why 6 woofers, 12 mid-ranges, and 24 tweeters? Crossover formula, space, financial reason? I mean, why did they choose that combination? It's a great question, and we talk a lot about this system from time to time, but it's good to understand what was in the minds of the developers when they were building this. So in fact, there are per side 6 woofers, 6 12-inch woofers. In our system, we've rebuilt it and added 1,000-watt amplifiers to each of those woofers. But anyway, there are 12 mid-range ribbons. That's these. These are called EMIMs. And there are 36 tweeters, not 24. So there's 24 from top to bottom and then 12 more on the back because it's a dipole. So a dipole sound goes forward and backwards, comes out both sides of the speaker. It's not a box, okay? So you can see back here, see? It's very, very thin. So the sound comes out of both the back and the front. But why the number of drivers? Well, a very simple reason. It's what's called a line source. Now, a line source theoretically should be floor to ceiling. So as just a line of drivers from the top of the ceiling all the way to the floor. That's a perfect line source. Now, Arnie, Carrie, and the people who made the Infinity IRS 5s were also practical people. And they knew this had to fit into somebody's house, right? Because, look, they were in the business of selling loudspeakers to normal human beings, right? So these speakers are 7.5 feet tall. What's the average height of a ceiling in a room? You got it, 8 feet. So that extra 6 feet was just enough, they calculated, to be able to raise this panel up and be within 6 inches of the ceiling. So that's how the size got. That was the tallest they could build it and to fit into a normal room with an 8-foot ceiling. Now, we have 10-feet ceilings, so not a big deal. The drivers, the size of each driver, is determined by the wavelength that they wish to have it go down to. And the cumulative wavelength, the lowest frequency that the mid-ranges are supposed to go down to, is 100 hertz. And they designed these drivers so that together, or even individually, they can get kind of low towards that area, which is really low for a ribbon driver. And then the tweeters, of course, tweeters do what tweeters do, and they just need to make a line of them. There is no crossover individually on these drivers. These drivers are all in parallel, series parallel. So like a group of them are in series, and there's no crossover. So we have one crossover that feeds the entire line, okay? So series parallel, maybe you have this group is in series, this group's in series, and this group's in series, and then we parallel them all together and then drive it from one crossover, which would be a high-pass filter. And then the mid-range, the same thing. These are all series parallel, so that overall we get a 4-ohm load, which is what we're looking for. And then the crossover, make sure that this goes down to about 100, and these stretch out as high as they'll go, and they definitely exceed 20 kilohertz. So that's a line source, and the polar pattern that comes out of a line source is very different than what comes out of a normal loudspeaker. And in a regular Infinity loudspeaker, you'd have one of these, maybe one on the back, and one of these, and that would be the whole speaker. These all work together at the same time. And the crossover works for the entire row of them. So that's how they got that number of driver into that speaker. Okay? Thanks for the question. Talk to you later.